Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm here with my buddy, Jason McDougall. We operate in the same market and known each other for a long time, good friends. And we're going to talk about kind of evolution today. Jason's decided to build more of a lifestyle business, and a lot of folks that are in real estate get to a point to where they either just keep working hard forever or they kind of realize like, hey, I got in this business for a reason to have to live the life that I want to live, like, and do the things that I want to do. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Sweet.
So Jason, great to see you, buddy.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you. Just down the road, although you moved out a ways.
I'm in the sticks, bro. I'm in the sticks. Decatur.
What made you decide to move out to the, I mean, we just bought a place, like, kind of get away as well. So, I mean, everybody has different reasons, but is that why you wanted to just kind of get away from the hustle and bustle, or what?
Yeah, man. So we were in DFW proper forever. And then COVID hit, and we got to spend more time alone, away from friends and family. We're like, we need some space, man. All these people around us. We don't want to be trapped in our house if this happens again. Yeah. So we decided to sell our house in Colleyville and move out to the country. Okay. And it's been great, man. I have no regrets from doing that. Yeah, that's Wish great. Done it sooner. Yeah. We with our house out at the ranch, we like Lindsay is an introvert, so I knew she would be like, excited to be out away from people because she'd rather talk to birds and insects than people anyway. I understand.
And I was like, I think I'm gonna be like itching to like talk to somebody after a few days. But the truth is like we're super connected. We have Starlink out there. We're really in the middle of nowhere, but our internet connection is better out there than it is here. And honestly, it's really grown on me. Like I love being out there, and I can always pick up a phone or be connected. I have in my office out there. I haven't shot any podcasts out there, but I'm about to. And so we have the ability to do everything we need out there. We have everything we need out there. It's a comfortable place. But yeah, it's I don't know if we're probably a little further out. We're like 90 minutes outside of town, so probably a little bit further than you. Yeah, probably. But it feels like we're a million miles away, but we're really not that far.
It's nice, man. I think that for me, I read this term called population fatigue, and it's like when you go in traffic and everybody's like, throwing the bird out the window and just like angry. It's because we're around so many people all the time. You just get kind of tired of people sometimes. Yeah. So when you get away from that, man, it's just more calming, less anxiety. I'm like, this is really relaxing and nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do things out there that I don't do here. Like I was thinking about this before. In my adult life, like I've never owned a lawnmower. I just lived in an apartment, or we had our first house that we lived in was a townhome, and the HOA like did the lawn. And then this house we've lived in, we've been here for like 15 years. We've always just hired somebody because it was honestly it's kind of cheap, really, relative to the cost of my time, I guess. No doubt, yeah. And but out there, like, I'll mow for days at a time. I'm looking at a tractor, but it's different. I'm like, I've got Bluetooth. It's like air conditioned in there.
You got air conditioning in your mowing?
Oh yeah, dude.
Nice.
Yeah.
You cracking open a cold one in there and just sit.
I don't, but I could.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I can do whatever I want. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Of course, it's heavy equipment. You want to be careful, but
true.
Yeah, I've got a skid steer now. Just got a tractor, so it's as comfortable as any. I mean, these are like $100,000 vehicles, so they better be nice. But yeah, they've got cup holders and Bluetooth and air conditioning, heating, like whatever you want.
You just living your best life out there.
I guess so.
Stuff. Doesn't even need to be mowed, does it?
Yeah. I find like what else it is funny when everything when you have a hammer, everything's a nail. Yeah. They say so. I've got like this massive like tree mulcher on the front, and we have 90 acres of timber, and it's really for mulching just junk like big weeds and brush and stuff like that. But when you've got that thing, you're like, I'm always on the hunt for what else needs to be mowed down. It's just
you create little trails through there.
Big boys with big toys,
I love that, man.
Yeah. So
when is your diesel truck coming? I mentioned that on your Facebook post.
Yeah.
How are you gonna haul all this stuff? You need a big diesel truck.
I know. Yeah. I might have to do a little switch.
Yeah. Do it.
So let's talk about, obviously, when did you start here in real estate? Because we were kind of coming up around the same time, but when did you really start?
So I kind of got my feet wet like in 2009, 10, 11.
Okay.
Just by doing some bandit signs, got caught doing bandit signs by the police and kind of quit real estate until 2015. So 2015 is when I really like actually took action and went after it.
Okay. Yeah. So I started in 2008, but I know we crossed paths kind of early on at some
Yeah,
point.
you're
Is the story, were
right.
you the one that like you had your wife putting out bandit signs, or she was in the getaway car or
She was in the
something?
getaway car,
She was in the
dude.
getaway
It
car and
was
you got caught.
midnight in Hearst, and we were hammering. I was hammering. She would pop the trunk open. I would jump out, grab the sign, hammer it in the ground, and then a cop rolls up and flips his lights on at like midnight.
Yeah.
And he had the backseat full of bandit signs. I was like, oh, dude, I got
Yeah.
caught by the wrong
He was
cop.
the bandit sign police.
He literally was, man.
Yeah.
He was
Wow.
like, "You're going to jail," and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to jail for bandit signs." I didn't know you couldn't go to jail for that, but
Did you actually go to jail for that?
no, he
Okay.
threatened to arrest me and put me in cuffs and stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm not doing real estate anymore. I
Yeah.
am done." This
Yeah.
scared the crap out of me.
That's funny. Yeah, I've always said, so I've never done bandit signs, and like whatever it takes to get going, like you got to do what you got to do.
100%.
You know? But I've always kind of said, yeah, something you have to do that has the word bandit in it, and you do it under the cover of darkness, is probably not a sustainable business practice. But
Yeah, I was
anyway.
broke, man. I had
Hey,
no option.
I get
was
it.
like,
I
I'm
get
gonna
it.
get it done one way or another.
I get
Yeah.
it. Did you buy any houses from it though?
I did not buy any houses.
Oh, okay.
This was like our second time putting the bandit signs out.
Oh, you
We
got caught early, yeah.
So I had all these bandit signs for years I couldn't put out.
I know a guy that you might know this guy too, because he was in Investor Fuel, that got like a huge, like 6-figure fine for doing RVMs.
Oh.
And he was like mad, like just like, and we were all like, holy shit, I can't believe it. And he's like, but I made like $600,000 doing it. So then he was like, you know, it's just it was an expensive marketing channel,
Cost of doing
more expensive
business.
than he thought,
Yeah.
you know? So anyway,
Dang.
but so you have done a lot of deals here. You've done a lot of wholesaling, fix and flipping. You got a rental portfolio.
Yeah.
And then at some point you decided, you always have to decide like what do you want to be when you grow up, right?
Yeah.
And it's constantly evolving as a real estate investor. Probably all entrepreneurs. I kind of give this joke all the time that I'm surrounded by people that wake up in the morning and they're going to like 10x their business today, and by noon they're thinking about shutting it down. You know, because
Seems pretty accurate.
Yeah. But at some point along the line, like your business, you change your mind. You start to realize what's important, especially probably going through COVID and going through a couple market cycles, and you start to you're constantly evolving as a entrepreneur, right? Really as a human, right? Or a parent and all those things. It's like, well, what's important to me? Something I used to think was important is not. Sometimes people have bigger goals and they're stretching further. Sometimes people just pull back or they kind of modify their life. And so, tell us a little bit. I know a little bit about your story, but why don't you tell us like how that evolution happened and kind of what your line of thought is today, I guess.
Yeah. So I started like as a solopreneur and doing everything myself. And then I was like, well, the next logical step is to not do it all myself and to hire people to help do it for me.
Right.
So I hired a team. I had an office. I had an admin. I had a cold caller. I had an acquisitions guy. And that was all kind of working. I didn't really enjoy managing people, being accountable to be in an office from 8 to 5. I was like, wait a minute, I just quit my job so I wouldn't have to do this. And now I'm doing it again. So when COVID kicked off, I shut all that down because everybody was like, no more work. Everybody was not sure what was going to happen next, but we shut it all down. And I spent a lot of time with my family. And when I did that, I was like, man, I love the way this feels. Like, I love not having to be at the office at 8 a.m. and like running the team and like motivating everybody to make the deals happen. I was like, this is really nice. But how do I maintain this going forward without me having to do all this work for 70 hours a week like I was doing previously when I was a solopreneur? So I just took a look at like what was my business doing prior to COVID and what could I do after COVID to like still make money and grow my business, but maybe not without a huge team and doing the same thing and having all the time I wanted with my family.
Yeah. It's easy when you have a big team to, I guess, not just the team side, but to like let the business get away from you where you're doing the daily activities that you think you're supposed to do, but you kind of lose why you're doing it or what it's for.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody gets in this for like freedom, right? Time freedom or financial freedom.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, I have less time. I'm working nights now, to work on projects. And then I have more money, but I have no time to spend it. It's my family.
Yeah. Yep. And sometimes your lifestyle like expands like based on what you actually need, So you might think if I get to this number, like that would be awesome. And then you get there and you're like, no, I really need 10x this. But you don't, but you like start to think of like your life just kind of fills up with more stuff,
Funny how that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does.
Yeah.
New toys become shiny. You're like, well, now I can afford that.
Right.
And then you're like, well, what is it going to take to get that?
Yeah. But then it forces you to like, well, you got to work harder. You could never get to a point of comfort because you keep making yourself uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like in the journey to get the things that you think you want, it creates an uncomfortable side effect, which is you got to support that now.
100%. Keep grinding.
Yeah.
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 I was not interested in doing that, man.
Yeah.
I didn't want to keep
Well,
grinding.
the question is, where does it end? Like, there's levels to it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you could say, okay, like maybe I'm dreaming bigger than what I used to, but like I don't need like to go crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So nowadays it's more like, what's the best use of my time to get the maximum return?
Mm-hmm.
And what things can I do to get the maximum return? It's not doing a wholesale deal that makes me 10 or 15 grand anymore. That used to make me happy. I'm like, oh, 15 grand on a wholesale deal. But now I'm like, I don't even want to do that, man.
Yeah.
It's not worth my time.
Yeah. Yeah. So how's your business evolved? So I know you have a rental portfolio, and I know you're starting to do property management and things like that. So kind of what does it look like from here on out for you?
Yeah. So after COVID, I continued to grow my rental portfolio. We moved to the sticks, and then I started investing in Wichita Falls, picked up a bunch of rentals there really easily because they're no competition.
Cheap up there.
Cheap, man.
There's like 2 markets that I know of in Texas that are like, in DFW and Houston can kind of, certainly Austin could, certainly over the past like 10 years could do no wrong. Like they're just up, up, up. And there's a couple markets in Texas that are just like going sideways.
Very flat.
Wichita Falls is one of those, which makes it maybe a good rental market, a good owner finance market. But yeah, so is that where most of your rentals are up there?
I got about half there and half in DFW.
Okay.
There's no appreciation up there.
I know. Yeah.
Zero. There's a great cash flow.
Yeah.
But there's no appreciation.
Yeah. It's weird.
It is weird.
Why is that? I mean,
there's no employers there, man. There's no new jobs coming into that marketplace.
Interesting.
They've got high hopes of bringing some new talent in there, but
yeah, they're trying.
They're trying.
Well, isn't there a military base up there?
There's a military base that's very scaled down from what it was 10 or 15 years ago.
So it kind of got decimated when that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there's talks of maybe it's just a NATO training base at this point. So whatever happens with NATO would affect that base. Who knows what happens? But it's kind of a sketchy place to put all your eggs in, you know.
Right.
We're in the egg dilemma right now. It's a good,
good
there
transition. You go. There you go. That's what they need to start. They need to start some egg farming.
That's right, 100%.
Yeah, there's a boom going on.
There is, man.
So you're and then you said you're managing your own units, and you're like, I might as well do this for other people.
Yeah.
too.
So like we're managing our properties, and I'm like, well, I've got a VA that does a lot of this, but there's not everything a VA can do. So it's still me doing some stuff. And how do I get out of that seat because I don't love that? So the next logical thing would be to start a property management business to manage for others, to allow us to hire somebody to do all these things for us.
Right. So as a service, you're subsidizing your cost ultimately.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of people that I know that run, there's quite a few people that are in Investor Fuel that run property management companies or have sold them off and things like that. And the typical rule of thumb I've heard is like, you don't really make a lot of money until you get above 150 or units or so. And then it starts, then you can afford your overhead and you can afford to scale up and stuff like that. So, but I think things just get easier with scale in that business as well, because it's very much an operational business, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not looking for a new lead generation sources, or you probably are, but it's not to the same degree. You're not going through hundreds of leads to find a deal, stuff like that. So it's a little bit different, I think.
Yeah. I think for you as an investor, like if you're managing rentals for other people, you'll be able, I mean, you have that investor mindset. So you'll be able, if they're, you know, I would encourage you, it's just a thought here is like, try to help them hit their goals, which is probably growth, you know, because a lot of people that start with a couple, they may not really know what they're doing.
Right.
And it's like, well, you know, you might not want that hustle, but you know, you might help them hit their goals of like, oh, I really want 8 or 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever. And it's like, well, it benefits you to help them grow
100%.
their business because you're going to be managing them on the back end.
Add their portfolio, buy some rentals in Wichita Falls, and
there you go.
Manage them for you.
Yeah. So we were talking a lot about, you know, what it's all for, and like what are some of the, I guess kind of what's been your evolution of thought is like you just want back to the lifestyle part. You just want to live the life, control your time more, be able to spend more time with family, all those things.
Yeah, all those things. I really, I'm 42, and I think, you know, when you hit 40, you're like
young, super young guy.
Yeah, thank you. When you hit 40, when I hit 40, I'm like, man, you know, like, you know, I'm not thinking about like dying or anything like that, but your time is limited.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I want to spend this time? And I keep on thinking about like when I'm on my deathbed, do I regret doing the deals I never did, or do I regret not spending time with my kids and my wife?
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's that. Like, how do I want to be remembered?
Right.
So, like, what do I do to continue to grow my business, but also spend more time with my family, not less, as I get older?
Yeah.
Because it's fleeting. You know, they're growing up.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot, like just living with no regrets. You know, when my mom passed away a couple years ago, I could sense that she had a lot of regrets, just like things that she always wanted to do and never did. And I was like, then I had regrets. I'm like, why didn't I help her do those things? I mean, it's probably natural for a kid to feel like I have some guilt there of like I had means to let her do more things and I just didn't do it or whatever, you know. But for sure, I think the important thing is to try to like live your life with minimal regrets over things you should have done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I used to have a boss that told me when he died, he was going to have no regrets. I'm like, man, what an amazing thing to be able to say.
Yeah.
That when you die, you have zero regrets. He helped his kids start a multi-million-dollar company, and like he really probably lived with no regrets.
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
awesome.
that's what I want.
Yeah. Yep. So, you told me a little bit ahead of time too that your goal is, you said one of your goals is to build this property management company to let your kids take it over.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to. So my oldest is 8.
They're like is a slave labor thing? Is that what it is?
100%. Yeah, man. Think about the money I would save. No.
Right. Yeah.
8 and 5, both boys, and they both want to be in real estate. I mean, that could change because they both wanted to be, archaeologists or whatever a few years back.
Whatever movie they just saw.
Exactly. I want to be Captain America now. I'm like, all
Right.
right, bro. But that's my goal, man. I want to grow their property management business. So when they are 18, like, just step into what I've built for you. Just walk right in if the water's warm and step
Yeah.
into this. Because I just want to keep them close to me and in the
Yeah.
business with me.
Yeah, it's a natural thing. I was telling you about my son is like he's not going to go into real estate or any of the things that we do, but he might come back. Like I think, and I don't. If he doesn't, that's fine too. And we're not kind of planning on that. But I think about it like, you know, we talked a little bit about with well, I was giving you examples from my son, is like, you know, there's things that they have to go do to figure out what they want. I was the same way. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed when I was in college. I changed my major like probably 10 times. Like I
Good
had
for you.
no idea. And I think even getting out of college, like I started in corporate America and I pivoted and I went into something that I didn't even need any of that education for ultimately. Right. And so, you know, I think people have to, everybody's a little bit different, but I think some kids just have to find their way, what they want to do. And then some of them, we never really included our son in the business that much. Like he used to drive around with me and check on rehabs and stuff like that. But, you know, I've thought about like involving him more in like the planning or like he doesn't even really know what all of our we have so much going on that
Yeah.
I just realized last night. I actually said that at dinner and I was like, you don't even like there's a whole bunch of stuff that you don't even like you think you know about what we do, but you don't even know. And he's 17 years old. He's been he was 1 when we started our business, so he should know all that, but he's just at an age where he's probably a little more self-consumed.
That and like they're in school, all the time.
Yeah.
So like, how do you expose them to like your work life?
Right.
With a couple hours you have in the evening, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
do that, to show them everything.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah. But that's a cool thing to shoot for. I mean, why not? Like at the end of the day, you've worked hard to build some freedom, and if they can benefit from that, and they're still gonna have to work, right? It's not like you're just gonna give it to them. I mean, it's still
Right.
a job, it's a business. But I think it's a great thing to shoot for.
That's my legacy, man. I want to be able to build a business that provides for my family, and that means like my boys too. If they decide to join me, great. If you don't want to join me, that's fine too. If you have other passions and desires, but
Yeah.
my goal is like if you want to join me, like I have a seat waiting for you when you're ready.
Yeah. The great thing about a property management business is it's a sellable asset,
Yeah.
too. So if it's like if they don't want to buy it, you'll always be able to sell that. There's always been this question of like, can you sell a wholesaling business? It's like not
No,
really.
really.
I know a few people that have done it, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No.
And so I've always kind of said, hey, the way you build wealth as a wholesaler is you accumulate rentals,
Yeah.
or you use your cash to invest in something else that
Sure.
makes money passively, because the wholesaling business itself is not usually you're the key man,
Yeah.
or woman or whatever, whoever, and the brands aren't that important unless you're like a national wholesaler or something maybe, and the systems you're probably using off the shelf systems, and so
Yeah.
it's like anybody could just go like whatever they would pay for years, they could probably go start it for a fraction themselves.
100%.
Yeah, so it doesn't really make sense. So it's really pushing it into other things like other companies, like starting a property management company or building up rentals that are always sellable.
Yeah. Holding assets, like transitioning that cash to assets. And I think a lot of wholesalers don't do that.
Right.
They just are stuck in that. I'm like, you're going to be doing this forever, man,
Yeah.
unless you find a way to transition that cash or do something different.
Right. Yeah, it's a hamster wheel.
It
It
is
can
a
be
hamster
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man. How do you get off
So
it?
so what's next for you? What's going on? What let's talk about the market a little bit. Like, what do you think is going on in the market?
Market's slow. It's real
Yeah.
slow. We've sold a couple of flips in Wichita Falls that were, we listed them during Thanksgiving, so not a great time to list them, but they were on the market for abnormally long, even for that period.
Yeah.
So it's just slowed down. So it makes me like, make sure that when I'm buying something, it has multiple exit strategies. Can I rent this if I can't sell it? I don't think it's that bad where everything's just sitting and not selling. It's just totally stalled, but it's definitely slowed down. I don't see that improving significantly in the future. Not within the next 12 months. I don't see the 10-year treasury yield going down enough to affect that.
One of the things that's benefited Dallas, the DFW side, is that there's such an influx of population here.
Yeah.
It's kind of propped everything up. So probably things are moving faster here than Wichita Falls, I'm guessing.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But yeah, if you have that's first time home buyer type houses, right?
100%.
So whatever the median is in Dallas, I don't even know, maybe like 380 or ish or something.
Sounds right.
350. I remember when it was 180. So that's how long I've been around.
Don't date yourself.
But the move up houses are tougher right now.
Yeah.
But the first time home buyer stuff is still pretty affordable housing here compared to most parts of the market.
Yeah. I've got
most places in the country, I guess.
Friends that are selling like $1 million plus houses, and they're like, man, those are moving fast. Like $1.5 million, those have no problem selling.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's usually people with much higher discretionary income, second house or something like that.
Yeah. They have the money just to float it.
But the rich got richer.
That's right. They did, man. The rich got richer.
Right.
But the $600,000 houses, I've heard a lot of troubles with those moving. There's just a slower market, that middle class market.
Yep. So what do you think is going to happen over the next 5? If you're banking on property management, like you're banking on, the reality is 1 in 3 houses in America are rentals. There's a lot of people that there's always going to be tenants. Probably the home ownership is generally going down at this point, I would assume. And so, like, what's your vision for the property management business?
Yeah, I think in the short term, it's going to continue to grow. But then I also think about, like, the affordability is a thing, and holding rental properties is not as profitable as it used to be. So what does that mean long term for property investors, for landlords? I think that starts to decline. I think the bigger players, like the corporate players, are scooping up a lot of properties. They always have been, or they have been for the past 5 or 7 years, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think individual ownership by like mom and pops, I think that declines.
Yeah.
I don't see them, there's no more $200,000 houses that you can rent for $2,500.
Right.
It's just hard to make those numbers work. So
yeah.
I think those properties get sold off as those people start to pass away.
Our rentals, we've got about 40 rentals in DFW, and our rentals have never really cash flowed that well. I mean, I bought them for cash flow reasons, and they cash flow, but they've never done great. But the appreciation's been insane.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm of the mindset that they're gonna. There's some interesting things going on with the Trump administration now in terms of just absolute hopefully reducing the deficit.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, like, inflation's gonna just continue to churn and churn and churn forever, which is destroying the dollar, which pushes up asset prices. And so, I'm just hanging on for an inflation hedge.
Yeah, that's smart.
Otherwise, we would probably start to owner finance them off and just be the bank,
I mean, inflation's never going to stop, really.
Right.
Even with reduction in spending and stuff like that. Inflation, like their goal is to have 2% inflation a year. Their goal is not 0.
Right.
So
right.
It's going to continue on forever and ever. So I think if you're holding just as inflation hedge, it's a great asset class to hold long term.
Yeah.
It's a sure bet, I think.
Yeah. So you're just getting started with your property management business for other people as a service.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about, like, how do you grow that? Like, what are your plans to grow that? And I think you have an unusual advantage that you've been an investor for a long time, so you really understand that mindset. And one of the other opportunities too, I was talking about this on the real estate side with somebody the other day, is like, even if your market is kind of slowed down, like, the thing to do now is steal market share. Just because the market, like Dallas is, let's just say DFW is slower than it was, 4 years ago. But there's still a lot of activity going on. It's like, you just need to steal market share and be a better operator. It's the same thing with property management, right? Is even if that's becoming a harder business, say, most property managers suck.
Yeah, they do.
And that is really the key to anybody being successful. But you have the mindset of an investor. I also know you're very frugal, little nickname maybe.
Frugal McDougall. Yeah, baby.
And so, but how are you gonna grow that? I mean, it's not like you need to go find some pond that there's a whole bunch of people that have been looking for property managers and now they're gonna find me. It's like, you just need to find the ones that are unhappy with where they're at now and say, why don't you come over to this side?
Yeah, 100%. So I think organically, a lot of it comes from like SEO. I paid all of our tenants. I should make sure we didn't say that, but I paid all of our tenants to give us 5-star Google reviews. I was like, I'll give you $10 off your rent. So I got like these 50 Google reviews, 5-star reviews, and we're not even 100% set up to manage properties yet. And we're getting calls from property owners like, hey, I'm
Nice.
with this property management company and they suck. I saw your reviews. I'd love to work with you. I'm like, I'm not ready yet. But I've gotten a lot of that.
Yeah,
And
that's
this
great.
the consistent answer or the consistent feedback is that the person we're working with now is not doing a good job.
Yeah.
It's not really someone that doesn't have a property manager and they're just looking for somebody. It's
Right.
they had one in the past, they're working with one and they don't love it. So I think there's a lot of older property management companies that have been around for a long time that have gotten really, really comfortable and have not adapted new technology or new processes to like help make the experience better for owners.
Right.
And I think that's where I shine, where I
Yeah.
can do a lot of that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So the marketing, SEO, PPC, I'm not going to be putting out bandit signs for property management.
Well, you know what would work really well is direct mail, honestly, because you can. It's real easy to identify, absentee owners
100%. Someone with a
data.
portfolio.
So you either cold call them or, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do it. They're easy to identify, like who are the landlords,
Yeah. And I think you're right. A lot of those property managers don't have that skill set where they're like in the trenches with marketing, where as a real estate investor, like we're always thinking about the new ways to get in touch with someone that no one else is doing, right?
Yep. Yep. So for Jason, for anybody that's coming up right now, any words of wisdom, like you probably are not on path. I mean, you probably have pivoted a few times, right? Over time. And so any words of wisdom for people to kind of, that are coming up right now that, might be caught in the hustle or like, I don't know, any words of wisdom to share with people that are kind of coming up now that could use a little wisdom from a guy like you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's been a lifestyle by design. Like I didn't get here unintentionally. I thought about what I wanted, and I focused on figuring out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
So it's not been like I'm just going to go do through the motions and make this happen. I'm like, what do I want out of life? What do I want my time to look like? What do I want my business to look like? And then what are the actionable steps that realistically I can do
Yeah.
to make that happen and taking those steps? So being intentional for 100% is all of it. And then maybe not having shiny object syndrome, because I am a big problem with that.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of that. And I've chased things and I'm like, man, I shouldn't have chased that. I just wasted a ton of time and it wasn't even going to matter. So
Right.
being
Yeah.
intentional and not having shiny object syndrome.
I think it's also important to like think about your financial goals, right? Because like what do you need to live the lifestyle that you want?
Right.
Because a lot of times people get hung up on metrics that don't matter. There's obviously on social media, there's a lot of vanity metrics, right?
Yeah.
In the real estate, there is too. Number of units, number of doors you own without any context to like how much equity you have in
Yeah.
them. Or, there's a lot of metrics that like those metrics don't really matter. Like
Don't mean
what
shit.
really matters,
Someone, I hear people say like, I want to make $1 million a year. I'm like, why? Why do you want to make $1 million a year? Like, if you really need $1 million to have the lifestyle you want, okay, then great. But if it's just some arbitrary number that you picked out of thin air because it sounds cool, then you might want to rethink that. That's not a good goal.
I've coached a lot of new people too, and I used to say like, dream big, create these big, hairy, audacious goals. And what I found is when people's goals are too big and they're borderline, unrealistic, or they are unrealistic, like I used to think that is a catalyst to push you forward. But what I found is a lot of people, at the first hint that they're not going to hit that, they give up.
Yeah.
Because they set a goal too big for themselves, and in their mind, they started to realize I'm not going to hit that. So they're like, well, I should just do nothing.
Yeah.
Which is terrible. Like
it is terrible.
I mean, so I've kind of, now when people ask me about, when we talk about goal setting, I was like, look, your first goal should be to replace your active income. Like if you have a job, like if you make $80,000 a year, and because I have people that like making $80,000 a year, and they're like, I'm not going to be happy unless I make $500,000 next year in my first year. And I was like, I'm not saying that's not possible, but like your first goal should be like offset the 80,000 so that you could quit your job and go all in, because sometimes they set a big goal and they're just like, yeah, I'm not on track to hit that. And they're just like, I'll just stay at my job.
They get beat up.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. Like having that big goal, like you said, $500,000, going from 80 to 500, like that would be amazing if you could do it. But the chances are stacked against you, right? The odds are stacked against you of making that happen. So why set yourself up for failure?
It's the same mentality of like, I'm going on a diet, and it's like, I already broke my diet this morning, so I'm just gonna eat really bad for lunch and dinner too.
Yeah.
You're just like, why dig the hole deeper? It's not it's not a zero sum game.
Right.
Where it starts over tomorrow. It's like you're just hurting yourself the next day.
Continually. Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that.
Cool, man. Well, if folks wanted to connect with you, where do they go?
Facebook. I'm all over Facebook. I'm not as active as I used to be, so I'm not all over Facebook anymore. But I'm on there. If you want to reach out to
find
me,
you?
They can find me on there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, likewise, bro.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Everybody, hope you got some good value from today. Sometimes it's you got to really analyze what your goals are and what it is you're trying to accomplish in life. And for some of us, it ultimately all comes down to lifestyle, right? Like you want to be able to live the life that you dreamed of back when you were dreaming, right? And sometimes it doesn't need to be as big as you think it might be. And sometimes there's other paths to get there as well. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.